Now we will move to a different subject, which is the molecules. Molecules is made up by atoms that bound together via chemical bonding. So multiple atoms, it could be the same type of atom. For instance, O2, N2, Cl2. It could also be different types of atoms. For instance, H2O. Yeah, so this is a molecule, and ammonia or NH3. This is also an example of molecules. So when we have multiple atoms bound together via a certain chemical bonding, later on we will also talk about chemical bonding, and then we will get molecules. So if we take a look at the small entity like H2O, yeah, we can call this H, yeah. So we can see there is a bond that connects the oxygen atom to hydrogen atom, and there is another bond that connects the oxygen atom with the other hydrogen atom, and this one we call molecule. The molecules, they will make up compounds. So in the larger scale, the molecules make up what we call compounds. Yeah. Later we will talk about chemical bonding, and we will see a lot of different examples of compounds. So if atoms are the constituent of elements, molecules are the constituent of compounds. I hope up to this point you can follow the definition correctly. Okay, now for molecules, we recognize this term, chemical formula, or formulas. Now, in chemical formulas, we can determine the ratio between the atoms that build up a molecule. Yeah. For instance, water molecule, it's 2 hydrogen and 1 atom. That's why we write it down as H2O. So 2 hydrogen and 1 oxygen atom. The smallest ratio, write it here, we call as the empirical formula. This is the smallest ratio of atoms in a molecule. While the other one we call the molecular formula. Molecular formula is the formula that actually describes the actual atomic composition. Composition. Now, to understand this better, let's take a look at one example. I will draw a box over here. For instance, we have the molecule of C4H8. Yeah, C4H8. Now, this is the molecular formula. The empirical formula will be CH2. Yeah, this is the empirical formula. So C4 H8 is the same with CH2 multiplied by 4. Yeah. These two, this one and this one, they are the molecular formula. So the actual atomic composition that makes up the C4H8 molecule. But the smallest ratio possible between the atoms that make up this molecule is CH2. And this one that we call the empirical formula. Now, how do we determine the empirical formula? This will be related to the next segment where we will talk about the mole concept. Yeah. For now, we will not yet talk about this. After the mole concept, we will revisit the empirical formula and then we will also correlate it to the molecular formula. Okay. So far we've known that the atoms, they combine to make molecules, which is a constituent of compounds. Yeah, so this one in the microscopic scale and this one that what we see in larger scale or microscopic scale. Now, when the atoms combine to form molecules or compounds, this occurs by forming chemical bonds that we are going to talk about in this section. There are several different types of chemical bonds which are possible, and once we learn to recognize them, these types of bonds will help us to understand some of the chemical properties of many substances. Now, first of all chemical bonds share two characteristics. The first one is that all bonds involve either exchange or sharing of electrons. Okay? Second, the exchange or the sharing of electrons will results in lower energy for the compound relative to the separate atoms. Okay, so a chemical bond will not form, or it will not happen, or it will have only a fleeting existence unless it will lower the overall energy. So in another way, we can say that it becomes more stable. A more stable form when the atoms combine into molecules by forming chemical bonds. Now, let's take a look at the types of the chemical bonds. Types of chemical bonds. Yeah. We will discuss three types of chemical bonds. The first one is the ionic bond. Yeah. It's actually not a bond, but we will discuss about this later. And then this one, the actual bonding, which is the covalent bond. And then the other one is the metallic bond. So we have three types of chemical bonds. Ionic bond involves exchange of electrons. One party will lose or release an electron and the other party will gain the released electron. Okay? While in covalent bond, it's sharing of electrons, as well as in metallic bonds, it's also sharing of electron, just in a different manner, that we will get into later.